Welcome back to another episode of News and Views from the Connecticut House Republicans. I hope you have taken some time this weekend to get outside since spring has officially sprung.
Earlier this week, from the state capitol, concern surfaced over Governor Lamont's two-year budget proposal, particularly regarding a $230 million shortfall in employee health care funding. According to the state comptroller, the governor's $55.2 billion plan underfunds this critical expense.
Representative Tammy Nuccio, ranking House Republican on the Appropriations Committee, criticized the gap as dishonest and a disservice to taxpayers. House GOP leader Vincent Candelora also weighed in during a radio interview on Thursday.
We're already seeing a lot of overexpenditures. Medicaid's overexpended by $300 million, and this governor wants to just blame Trump. Trump hasn't done anything yet. Democrats all on their own have driven our budget into a ditch.
Greetings from the nanny state.
When a state job opens up, Democrats want out-of-work federal employees to get first dibs, regardless of experience or qualifications. In true majority party fashion, they sprung this last-minute proposal on Republicans just before Thursday's Labor Committee meeting.
Their plan also forces Connecticut's cash-strapped colleges to create and maintain a job portal connecting former federal workers to state vacancies without an expiration date.
Representative Steve Weir called out the proposal, one of several overreaching bills on the Democrat agenda, including a mandate requiring employers to remind workers to drink water on hot days.
Are you serious?
Yep. Representative Joe Canino put it bluntly. Talk about the nanny state. This is just another example of government overreach.
Taking center stage during last Wednesday's Judiciary Committee public hearing was the Trust Act, a state law which largely blocks local and state law enforcement personnel from communicating with federal immigration officials.
Minority Party Republicans offered a proposal to fix the law, aiming to expand the types of crimes where police can communicate with ICE with the aim to get criminal illegal aliens out of the country.
Instead, Democrats have a proposal to prevent any state agency personnel from sharing an iota of information with ICE.
That includes DCF in cases of child abuse, DRS in cases of tax fraud, DSS in Medicaid abuse cases, or even DMV in license and insurance fraud cases. Democrats' Green Raw Deal is this year's omnibus bill from the Environment Committee, who are notorious for pushing proposals that stray far from Connecticut residents' most pressing concerns, like the urgent need to lower soaring electricity bills.
Among the latest are highly controversial bans on gas-powered leaf blowers and plastic straws, cups, and utensils. These measures wouldn't just burden businesses, they'd force government entities, including local school districts, to purchase costly alternatives, ultimately sticking taxpayers with the bill.
Representative Pat Callahan, ranking House Republican on Environment, had a busy week leading the charge against radical environment legislation and sparring with supporters of toothless immigration laws which prioritize criminals over public safety.
And for that, he's earned our spot on this week's Let 'Em Cook segment.
I just see this Trust Act as doing the opposite. I think it's a distrust act. So how many of your community members, for instance, if they went to report a crime or go to the hospital or go to a state agency, how many of them were apprehended?
None of them.
Okay. So they have a fear, but is the fear founded or unfounded? Because the Trust Act is trying to get law enforcement agencies to work with ICE to take the bad people out of the community, not the people who are just trying to get regular services. That's who they're going after. Would you agree or disagree?
If people are committing crimes, they should follow the law and go through the trial that they have to go to.
So what you're saying is you do want the bad people taken, but you're saying there's people in your community that are afraid to just report crimes and even go to the hospital because their information's being shared. I'm looking somebody give evidence of that. And do you have any?
Any of what? Any
evidence that someone's just going for services and you said their information is being shared and it's being used by ICE. Do you have any substantiation of that?
In addition to our CT House GOP Capitol Rundown podcast, you can learn more about our caucus members and life under the Gold Dome with Representative Craig Fishbein's Craig's Corner, a weekly spot where our ranking on judiciary features a fellow House Republican for a candid look at their life as legislators. And you might have caught my coverage from the state capitol this week when Senator Chris Murphy was in Hartford holding another presidential campaign stop with fellow Democrats and a few hundred opponents of President Trump's plans to cut waste, fraud, and abuse from our Medicaid system.
The speakers, who included Governor Lamont, U.S. Reps DeLauro, Larson, and Courtney, and a smattering of Democrat state lawmakers, were rich in outrage but short on facts.
Connecticut's Medicaid spending is already $290 million over budget. In fiscal years 24 and 25, Connecticut taxpayers subsidized health care for illegal immigrants to the tune of $86 million. And in the governor's proposed budget for the next 2 years, taxpayers will subsidize an additional $116 million for the same program.
Is this spending out of control or what?
Of course, but that matters little to Senator Murphy and friends, who should be more focused on working across the aisle in Hartford and in Washington to lower costs for taxpayers, rather than beginning a campaign for president in 2028.
Join us next week for more news and views from Connecticut House Republicans.